Hi, I'm Sap, and welcome to the Long Play, where I tell you about some of the best music albums you have probably never heard about. And today I'm going to talk about a very special band.
Selling genocide and have got pride, I understand.
This is Irish rockers Fontaines DC, and the album we are going to talk about today is Skinty Fia. So I was traveling today, and while I was on my flight, I was sitting on the window seat and I was just looking out and listening to Skinty Fia by Fontaines DC. And then I realized that I need to talk about this band and this album, because to me, music is a lot about the kind of feeling it makes you feel, and different music makes you feel different things. This particular album makes me feel a very distinct thing. It's a very cinematic feeling of me walking through the roads of Paris on a very wet, rain drenched night, and the warm yellow lights from the lamp are like softly bouncing off the streets. And the funny thing is, I've not even been to Paris, but this music somehow makes me feel like I'm in that particular moment. And as I was sitting in the plane, like listening to this music, it also made me realize that whenever I listen to this particular album, it just makes me sit back, look into the distance, and just ponder about things. Nothing in particular, but just reflect back on life and think about different things. So I think this album has that characteristic of doing that to you, which I think is very special, and very few albums can do that to you. Now, Fontaines, they are actually termed as a post punk band, whatever that means, but I think their sound sits very nicely in between the spaced out sound of, let's say, Radiohead, and then the jangly Britpop of Oasis or Blur or Pulp, something like that. Now, those of you who already know about Fontaines DC know that they are a very poetic band. In fact, all the band members, they love poetry, and you will see in their lyrics they're very poetic and very theatrical in nature, right? And the other interesting thing about this band is that they are from Ireland and they really love their country a lot. Like, they are true patriots. So they do write about their country a lot of times. And in this particular album, it's very interesting because they talk about their love for Ireland, but they also talk about the fact that there are reasons why people are leaving their country, while their country is letting some of the people down. And it's coming from a place of anguish, like, my country, I love it so much, but there are so many issues with the country which is forcing me to move away. And I think that tension, that anxiety really comes out in the vocals of lead singer Chatton's voice. Now let's talk a bit about the sound of this particular album. I think one of the most distinctive features of this album is that it has a lot of space. What I mean is, imagine that you're wearing headphones, right? Now the sound seems like it's not coming from here, but it's coming from here. There's a lot of space. Plus, it's not a very heavy album when it comes to instrumentation, be it the guitars or the drums or the bass. Like, the guitars are mostly simply strummed, or there are very simple arpeggios or leads. The drum sits back, it's quite mellow, and the bass stays behind the scene, like ties everything together very neatly. And because the music has this quality of, like seeming as if it's coming from a distance, it lets the listener really sit back and reflect, which I think is a great quality. And on top of all of this, if you add vocalist Chatton's very dreamy and Irish vocals, oh my god, that completes the vibe. Now, this album, it hooks you right from the beginning. I think the first track, which I still don't know how to pronounce it, I think maybe it's In Our Croed Godio. I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's essentially like a chanting kind of a track where the vocalist keeps chanting about something, and it almost seems like it's like a ritual from the 1950s or 60s. And the interesting thing about this track is that it starts off with very dry instrumentation and the vocals are doing most of the work. But then they shift gears completely and enter into this sonic and melodic climax, which is just so exciting to hear. And what is really interesting about this track is that the vocalist, he ends the song by chanting the words "Gone is the day, it's gone, it's gone, it's gone," right? As if you had the chance to do something today, but you spurred that chance. That chance is gone. The day is gone. And then in the next song, which is a big shot, one of the lines is that everybody gets a big shot, baby. Oh my god, that is so ironic and fitting because you go from "Gone is the day" to everybody gets a big shot, baby, which is just insane, right? And yeah, and I think some of the other songs we must talk about is how cold love is. How cold love is. I think that's a very vibey song, which I think all of you will really enjoy. But the most notable song from this entire album has to be "I Love You." Now, this song is an ode to Ireland. Now, I was mentioning about how these guys really love their country a lot. And in this song, you can see that the vocalist, he's so angry. He's almost pleading to its country that, I loved you so much, I gave so much to you, but these things have changed. And then he's talking about the political landscape, how the country has let its citizens down. And it and the thing is, although this is about Ireland, I think any one of us can relate to it, because a lot of us feel that way towards our home country, because we have a lot of love for our homeland. But then there are a lot of things about our own country which disappoints us, which makes us really angry, which makes us question, like, why the fuck is this like this? And I think that comes out so beautifully in this song. It's like bone chilling almost. So yeah, I think all in all, it is one of those albums which are more like a piece of art rather than music. And I think Fontaines DC, they're a band that I easily come back to at least like twice or three times every month and have a listen to either Skinty Fia, this album, or their other album Romance, which I'll talk about some other time. And that is the point of this channel, by the way. I talk to you about albums that really stick with me, albums that I listen, I really like, and that I keep coming back to like every once in a while. I think life is very short and we should not spend it listening to bad music. So if you agree with that, then hit subscribe, and I think you will really like what is coming up next.